Hey FPL managers, it's Josh here from FPL Hawley. I have a top 2k all-time rank from 17 consecutive seasons of playing FPL, and my obsession is solving your biggest FPL problems. In this week's video, I'll be diving into the Game Week 4 aftermath, review my wildcard, which I'm pretty pleased with so far, and I'll unpack the key lessons from the game week, including some key data on defenders and premium players. I'll also share my strategic plan for the next 4 game weeks and my specific setup for the upcoming deadline. Let's get into it. Alright, so let's get started with my Game Week 4 review. I got a score of 73 points with my wildcard activated. That's a strong start and another solid green arrow, which has helped me rise by over 2 million in rank. Obviously, I've played 2 chips in that time, so I would expect to have a decent rank rise. I'm feeling pretty good about this wildcard and glad that it got off to a good start. I'm particularly pleased with my decision to bring in Gakpo instead of holding Salah. Now, while Salah got that late penalty, his underlying stats are a bit worrying right now. And with all 3 of his returns this season coming in injury time, Gakpo, on the other hand, I just see as a really fantastic value pick, and he allowed me, the downgrade from Salah to Gakpo allowed me to upgrade other parts of my squad that really just gave me the longevity to hold. Because I'm wildcarding so early, I need this wildcard to work for me for the next 10 game weeks or so. So I was able to upgrade my goalkeeper to David Raya. I was able to bring in a premium defender. My 5.5 million midfielder went to Paqueta at 5.9. who I think is a really good long-term pick. And I was also able to bring in Grealish instead of Njai at Everton. So I think that those 4 as a spine of the team with Haaland and a few others are really good long-term assets that will hopefully put me in good stead. The other big wins for me was the double Crystal Palace defence that have paid off for now. They then face West Ham, who I think again they should do well against. Bringing in Semenyo for me was a no-brainer. In all honesty, as soon as I hit that activate wildcard button, Semenyo was the first name in my squad, and I think he actually rose 3 times in the time that from bringing him in to now. So I think he's 7.5 million now. I think I bought him in at 7.2. And of course, trusting my gut and going for Haaland as my premium pick, and then also captaining him at home to Manchester United. He could have quite easily scored 4 goals against a very poor Manchester United side. I was delighted, but also quite frustrated for him not to have scored more. And again, it's FPL, but imagine the swing for a wild card like mine if Haaland had have put away all 3 or 4 of his chances and had Liverpool not got that very late penalty against Burnley. That could have been potentially a 25-point swing between the captaincy choices. But anyway, I can't complain. On the flip side, the international break always brings a few headaches, and Cucurella being benched was my one. It was frustrating, but anyway, I think he'll be a good long-term pick. It was great that he came on, I think, at half-time, and he started last night in the match against Bayern. And Mateta continues to blank for me yet again. The only time he's not blanked this season was when I didn't have him in my squad when I free hit in Game Week 3. But anyway, how did you get on in Game Week 4? Let me know your score and your rank in the comments below. So what did we learn from Game Week 4? I picked out 3 key things that I really learned this week. Number 1 is the rise of the defender. They are back. After a slow start to the season for FPL defenses, we're now seeing a really dramatic shift. There have actually been 13 more clean sheets already this season compared to the same point last year, which is a 20% increase. Now, this trend of clean sheets, combined with the new DEFCON points rule changes, makes playing a back 4 or even a back 5 a very viable tactic moving forward. I spoke in my last video about the value in some of the budget defenders at Leeds, Sunderland and Burnley, and I think with these increasing clean sheets, that's just going to continue. Haaland for me now is a must-have. He's a lock in my team, and I'd go as far to say he's almost essential. Now, listen to this in terms of data. Haaland's non-penalty expected goals so far in the first 4 game weeks is 5.6. Now, that sounds really good in that he's expected to score more than a goal a game, which is great. But when you stack rank him against the next player, the closest player to him is Ismail Assar for Crystal Palace, who was actually injured in game week 4. So he's only played 3 games. Now he has a non-penalty expected goals of just 2. Haaland's goal threat is operating at a massive 184% higher output than any other player in the game. Like, that's just monstrous. Like, he is not just worth his 14.2 million price tag. I think he potentially is a bit of a lock for a captain with that kind of form. We'll talk about that later though, because he is away at Arsenal in game week 5, which is arguably the hardest game of the season. Meanwhile, Salah's returns have all been late, as I mentioned earlier. And if you take away Salah's penalties, Salah ranks 93rd for non-penalty expected goals. So he's literally nearly outside the top 100 players this season, which is just crazy. This tells me that Haaland is not just a great option, but for me, he's essential. And I'm feeling very smug to have wildcarded him in early. And then finally, the Aston Villa problem. Aston Villa are having a complete nightmare. They are 20th last in the league for expected goals conceded. So they have the worst defence. They kept a clean sheet at home to Everton in game week 4, but that was through Martinez's heroics in goal. They conceded nearly 2 expected goals against Everton, and Everton were very unlucky not to score. But not only do they have the worst defence, they are 19th for expected goals. So they have the second worst attack. So I can't even really see where the opportunity is coming from with Aston Villa. You can't go for their defenders and you can't go for their attackers. They are the only team in England's top 7 divisions not to score a goal yet this season. Now, with a fixture of Burnley next, this puts managers with both Watkins or Rodgers in a very tough spot. Do any of these stats surprise you? And if you own any of them, what are you doing with your Aston Villa assets this week? Are you holding or are you selling? Now for some midweek madness. The Champions League and other cup fixtures always throw a spanner in the works midweeks. And we saw Isak unexpectedly start for Liverpool, and he played 58 minutes in the Champions League against Atletico Madrid. Now, to be expected, he wasn't at his best. He did show glimpses of his potential. But what was more interesting for me was the comments from manager Arne Slot about his new forwards after the game. He said that while Isak and Ekitike could play on the left, he views them more as more. He said that while Isak and Ekitike could play on the left, he views them as more number 9s than another position. So this is huge for me as a Gakpo owner. I thought that Isak would be the out-and-out 9 and that Ekitike and Gakpo would share minutes. But in actual fact, it does sound like Slot sees Ekitike more as that number 9 that will compete for minutes with Isak and Ekitike. And he actually mentioned something about Ekitike playing as a second striker. Now that would drop him more into Wirtz's territory. So with Wirtz having a slow start, could we potentially see Isak and Ekitike playing together? But Ekitike more in the second striker space behind Isak. Anyway, we'll wait and see, but the initial signs are promising for Gakpo owners like myself. And also a shout out to Palmer. He scored a brilliant goal against Bayern, and he had the cameo against Brentford as well. So Palmer is definitely back on my watch list. Now, speaking of my watch list, all this new information has led to an updated player watch list. Now, for me, Palmer is looking like a top priority. Maybe not right now, because I don't want to be tearing up my team to bring him in just after my wild card. But Palmer is very much on my radar for game weeks 8 and beyond. But yeah, Palmer's great cameo against Brentford, a beautifully taken goal, and again, a great goal last night against Bayern. He does seem to be back to his best. And again, I think from game week 9 onwards, when Chelsea's fixtures turn favourable, I've got to have him in my team, and he'll probably be a very likeable captaincy choice for me as well. It does feel like outside of Semenyo, there's a real lack of quality midfield options right now. With Salah stuttering and both Saka and Palmer having those injury concerns, there has been this big tactical shift from last season's midfield dominance. High-performing defenders keeping clean sheets and getting DEFCON, and then strikers performing well. Haaland, Gyökeres, to name a few. João Pedro, big at the back and big up front with a lighter midfield could be a very viable tactical option right now. Because of this, I actually quite like a 3-4-3 or even a 4-3-3 formation moving forward, especially from game week 7 when Arsenal's fixtures swing. I could even entertain a front three of the Scandinavian heavy hitters in Haaland, Gyökeres and Isak. What players are on your watch list right now, and what formation are you leaning towards? Let me know in the comments, and let me know if you've got any questions. Now let's look at the midterm horizon. My midterm strategy is about planning for the next 4 game weeks. I like to break the game down into game week blocks and then have a rough plan laid out for the next 4 or so. Immediately in game week 5, just put the armband on Salah and wish for the best. But with no standout fixture this week, this is going to lead to a lot of variance in the game, which I think is really good, and a lot of different captaincy options. Ideally, I'm going to roll my transfer in game week 6, potentially use my triple captain chip on Haaland against Burnley at home. And then in game week 7, when things get very interesting, I'll have hopefully 4 free transfers in the bank at that point, and I've got about 4 million in budget. I expect a lot of managers to be wildcarding between game week 6 and game week 8. So I want to move aggressively to have triple Arsenal. I'm eyeing up transfers to sell Munoz and Mateta because the Palace fixtures turn for the worse. I would look to bring in Gabriel and Gyökeres. So be moving double Palace to double Arsenal for game week 7. And then the Arsenal assets are basically a hold all the way up to probably my second wildcard. By game week 8, the fixtures swing really nicely for Chelsea. So Palmer is going to be back on my watch list, and potentially Isak, seeing how Liverpool go and how quickly Isak finds his feet there. What's your chip strategy in the next 4 game weeks? Let me know in the comments. So here's my final plan for game week 5. So my captain is a real headache, and I'm hoping for a solid performance from Everton, but I could also potentially punt on a Gakpo captain. I need to wait and see on this one. My ideal plan would be to roll my free transfer and to have 3 transfers in the bank as I move into game week 6 tonight. I've got 4 million of budget in the bank, and that's what's going to allow me to make those aggressive moves I mentioned in game week 7. What gives me comfort this game week is that there is no clear standout captaincy option or fixtures this week. So I imagine a lot of managers will be in the same boat as me. I predict a very low scoring game week overall, low score, a number of 2 or more plus goals, and low clean sheet odds as well. So it could be a lot of 1-alls, a lot of potentially 2-2s, but I can't see this game week being a huge scoring game week. Of course, we can clip that up and we'll see how that goes in my next video. So for my team right here, who would you captain and who would you bench? Will I regret potentially benching Grealish away to Liverpool? Let me know what you think in the comments. So that's my entire thought process and strategy for the coming game weeks. A lot of planning, but a clear process to hopefully attack the next few weeks and climb the ranks. If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure you hit that subscribe button for more FPL analysis from FPL Hawley. I'm back as normal with my deadline stream, which will be 1 hour before the game week 5 deadline. So starting at 10 a.m. Saturday morning, UK time. Come and join me with your burning game week 5 questions and problems. Now that's all from me. Best of luck in game week 5.